AI revolution is here, but along with incredible opportunities come new risks. Criminals using AI to scam victims out of hundreds of thousands of dollars, data centers consuming vast amounts of energy and water, and intelligence agencies warning that advanced AI could supercharge cyberattacks. So, how worried should we be? And who should be held accountable? Let's get into it. Think you'd never fall for an online scam? Well, it can happen to anyone. This businessman lost $400,000 to an AI-driven crypto scam.
I still wake up occasionally in the middle of the night with anxiety where it just all of a sudden hits me.
AI-assisted scams are on a steep rise according to crime researchers and the FBI. Criminal networks use AI to work across borders and languages, reaching more victims than ever before. Here's what you can learn from Chris's story.
I met Eliza through Facebook. November 2024, I got a friend request.
They began talking. Eventually, Eliza brought up crypto investments and how much money she made with it. They even had a video call. Eliza looked real. Chris decided to invest.
This was a way for me to grow my retirement fund. I had no plans to stay in it for very long.
The platform showed steady profits. Everything seemed legit until Chris mentioned it to a friend.
I have this friend who's a bank manager, and she said, "What are you doing, Chris?" I said, "Well, it's part of my investment." She goes, "What are you investing in?" She said, "Chris, you were scammed."
The investment platform was fake. The profits were fake. And Chris still doesn't know whether he was talking to a person or an AI. There were real people involved, however. One time, a man physically came to Chris's house to collect cash in person. Minutes later, the cash showed up in his investment account. When Chris realized he had been scammed, he sent doorbell camera footage to law enforcement. But so far, no luck catching the man. I
was planning to retire in like another 3 or 4 years. That, unless something changes, that's not going to happen. Which is, to say it's discouraging is probably a gross understatement.
This isn't an isolated case. Scammers around the world use the same playbook. Create a fake identity, build trust, convince someone to invest, then disappear. There are entire scam factories, often based in Southeast Asia. They are known to force human trafficked victims to work in teams to scam people worldwide. Experts estimate that hundreds of thousands of trafficked victims are involved in such operations. And technology is supercharging this. AI can help criminals write convincing messages in many languages. It can create realistic images. It can clone voices. And it makes fake identities much harder to detect.
As large language models, for example, have gotten better and better, you're suddenly globalizing the audience you can communicate with.
Some scam factories use specialized software that incorporates leading AI models to automate and scale their operations. A recent investigation found OpenAI's ChatGPT and Google's Gemini to be the most used tools. But models from Europe and China were also used. Internet access is another key part of the operation. Starlink is the #1 internet service provider in Myanmar, where many scam factories are based.
Starlink is the way these compounds continue to connect to the internet and the way that they get around all of the other restrictions that are put in place.
That raises the question of who carries responsibility here. Is big tech to blame? Most technology companies have guidelines that forbid criminal use of their products, but they also argue that monitoring all user activity would raise privacy concerns. Some companies have taken action. Starlink says it has disabled thousands of internet terminals linked to scam compounds. Yet investigators say new sites continue to emerge using Starlink again. Critics argue that AI companies and internet providers have the technical ability to do more, but lack regulatory pressure. The United Kingdom, the European Union, Australia, and Singapore have introduced rules that require companies to better prevent online scams. But regulation takes time. So, what can you do right now? If someone you meet online starts talking about investments, be careful. If they pressure you to move money quickly, that's a major red flag. Use reverse image search to check profile photos. Never invest through a link sent by someone you've only met online. Search independently before sending any money. And if something feels off, trust that feeling. You can even paste your chat into an AI tool and ask if it looks like a scam. If you suspect you're being scammed, stop sending money immediately. Save messages and take screenshots of payments. Report the scam. Even if you might not get your money back, you could prevent others from falling for the same scam. Because as AI continues to evolve, your best defense isn't just better technology. It's knowing how these scams really work. Stay safe. What if your next electricity bill came with a reward for using less power, so a data center can use more? Tech giant Google is starting to pay people for small amounts of their unused energy, from household appliances and EVs, for example. The idea? Turn millions of everyday devices into a virtual power plant for data centers. Sounds crazy? Well, as AI use is exploding, data centers need huge amounts of electricity. They leave a massive environmental footprint because of carbon emissions and extensive water use for cooling. Regions in Asia and Latin America are seeing a data center boom. They can bring jobs and investment, but also strain power supply and increase water and energy costs. So communities are asking, how do we balance the benefits and the downsides? Let's break it down. Data centers use enormous amounts of electricity. Some of the biggest ones can consume as much power as around 50,000 homes together. And for people living nearby, that could affect energy supply. Take Mumbai, for example. Experts say that data centers could use 1/3 of the city's electricity by 2030. One idea we've already teased, virtual power plants, or VPPs. The concept is simple. Rather than one big power source, a VPP connects thousands of smaller ones, home batteries, EV chargers, rooftop solar systems. People get paid to share that energy, helping ease pressure on the grid. Data centers use large amounts of water, mainly to cool their servers. According to a recent United Nations report, data centers could consume over 9 trillion liters of water every year by 2030. That's roughly equivalent to the drinking water needs of the entire world population in a year. In some regions, like Latin America, growing demand is causing tension. Residents are worried about water use during droughts. In Uruguay, for example, mass protests broke out after a Google data center was proposed during the country's worst drought in 70 years. A similar fight played out in Chile, one of the most drought-prone countries in Latin America. In Santiago Cerrillo's district, a proposed Google data center was projected to use 7.6 million liters of water a day, which is about as much water as the surrounding community uses in a year. So, what if the cooling water didn't have to come from rivers or groundwater? One idea: put data centers in the ocean. China has recently launched an underwater data center. Submerged 10 kilometers off the coast of Shanghai, it sits 10 meters below the surface. The cooling happens naturally there. But some worry that projects like these would disturb marine ecosystems. Data centers don't just consume resources, they also occupy land. Some fear whole communities could be displaced. It's already happening in India, where local farmers refuse to give up their land for a Google data center. So, to avoid putting any more stress on the planet, some are looking beyond Earth. Researchers in Singapore have proposed a system where satellites in low Earth orbit could act like data centers, sharing computing power, storage, and network traffic. To have data centers in space offers two big advantages: almost unlimited solar energy and natural cooling from the extreme cold of space. Europe's Ascend project, UAE's Madari Space, and China are already testing prototypes. But there are some problems. Cost, difficult maintenance, or space debris, to name a few. In the end, feelings are mixed. In some places, data centers were once welcomed, like in the US state of Virginia, where they supported over 75,000 jobs across the state and generated more than $1.6 billion in tax revenue in 2023. But over time, the public there turned against them. Bottom line, data centers bring jobs, innovation, and growth, but also noise, pressure on resources, and environmental concerns. And while the benefits might be global, the impact is felt most strongly at the local level. So, what do you think? Is it a fair trade-off? What's your take on this? Let us know. Imagine waking up, your bank account locked, the power grid completely down, government websites suddenly switched off, an entire country's critical infrastructure crippled in seconds. Not by an army of human hackers, but by a single AI model. Sounds like sci-fi, right? But according to a rare and urgent warning from the Five Eyes Intelligence Alliance, a scenario like this is only a few months away. The joint statement of 5 countries' security agencies says that AI accelerates the speed, scale, and sophistication of cyber threats and urges global leaders to act right now. What's more, this initiative took place in June, only days after the Trump administration officially blocked foreign nationals from accessing Anthropic's Mythos and Fable models. Is the global AI race playing out as a cyber weapons arms race? Let's dive in. The Five Eyes Alliance issued a blanket warning about the dangers of so-called frontier AI models. But right now, Anthropic's newest tech is taking center stage. In very simple terms, standard AI can code and fix bugs. Frontier models like Mythos can scan code, find flaws, and then plan, test, and launch a full cyber attack. Previously, targeted zero-day exploits could only be executed by advanced hackers. That means detecting deeply hidden software vulnerabilities that the creators don't even know exist. Now, anyone with an internet connection and access to a capable frontier model could theoretically do that. This drastically accelerates the speed and scale of cyber warfare. For this reason, Anthropic had kept its most powerful frontier model, Claude Mythos 5, restricted to select corporations to help strengthen cyber defenses. Its hacking capabilities were deemed too dangerous for public use. Claude Fable 5 was supposed to be the safe public version with built-in guardrails, but the Trump administration didn't agree. They expressed concerns over a potential security flaw, citing a jailbreak that allowed users to bypass the AI safeguards. US authorities claimed there was an unacceptable risk of these models being diverted into military intelligence and use by foreign adversaries. So they banned access to both models for all foreign nationals overnight, in a move strongly criticized by developers and experts. Following negotiations, Anthropic officially redeployed and restored Claude Fable 5 on July 1st. But what were the global implications of the short-lived ban? Global fallout was massive. By pulling the plug overnight, Washington didn't just hold back a piece of software. They shattered global trust in American tech. Many leaders believed that powerful models like Fable could help patch their own cybersecurity to avoid doomsday scenarios like the one we talked about in the beginning. But if the Trump administration can just cut off anyone, even an ally like Australia, which had just signed a major national AI deal with Anthropic, what's stopping them from blocking access to other crucial software? If tech hubs across Europe, Asia, and Latin America realize they can't rely on American platforms, they will inevitably look for alternatives, like the advanced state-backed open source models flowing out of China. And they have their very own flaws. Around the world, there are initiatives to become less dependent on US tech, especially AI. The EU, for example, is pushing hard for much more digital sovereignty at the moment. But it's a long way to go, because AI needs massive infrastructure and investments. That's why many experts and politicians are calling for international cooperation to rein in the risks of unregulated AI development. Do you think that's realistic? Let us know in the comments. That's all from me today. Bye and see you next time.